Hi everybody, Mr. Dorothy here. We are here for another live art for kids. It is Wednesday. Oh my gosh. The days are blending together. But today we have what I like to think is going to be a very fun lesson for us to complete. We're going to be learning about an artist named Wayne Thiebaud. I tagged him in the post as well, and I'm trying out in the previous post that announces what the live is going to be and the supplies, just to be able to have some other resources for there's a couple cool videos. There are some pictures of Wayne Thiebaud's artwork. There are some idea starters of some different ideas for different suites. Hi Makai, and hi Paul. So today we're going to be learning about Wayne Thiebaud. Wayne Thiebaud is a famous pop artist, and there's two videos that I put in there, and then both are really kid-friendly to kind of understand who he is and what he was doing. But he's most famous for hi Evie and Miles, hi Faith. But he's a pop artist, and he's most famous for his suites. A little bit of background about Wayne Thiebaud before we start. He painted a lot of still lifes, and just the definition of what a still life is a still life is basically objects or things on that table or in space that an artist paints. And Wayne Thiebaud was an artist. When he was starting to be an artist, he actually interned with Disney Studios, and he was an intern animator. And then he actually went into the service in the Air Force, and he in the service got put on special assignment, and he became a cartoonist and an artist in the Air Force. And then he eventually came into his own art. And a cool fact, when he was an artist, he started painting. He was painting and doing art the way he thought he was supposed to do. And he was talking to another famous artist friend of his, and he said, "Why are you trying to paint like me? Why are you trying to paint like so-and-so?" And so he took a step back and he said, what do I want to paint? And that's how actually he came to paint his suites. I posted a lot of those pictures, and he actually spent a lot of time working in restaurants, and he was fascinated with the textures and the colors. And again, texture is how something feels, and colors, those bright, vibrant colors. He was fascinated with the desserts and the sweets that were in like the display case at diners and restaurants. So he started to paint his own sweets. So today we are going to create a piece of art around sweets. Kids that are watching, or adults, because I'm encouraging adults to do it too, but you're going to start off with creating a sweet. It could be, your favorite ice cream cone. You could be your favorite piece of pie. It could be, a cake for a special occasion. Maybe it's your birthday cake. Maybe it's an anniversary cake, or, whatever. It could be some lollipops. Basically anything that is sweet, And I'm going to do just one in my picture. But I encourage you, if you want to do multiples on the same page or multiple pages, feel free to do that. So let's get started. I'm just trying to make sure I don't have glare. So pardon me while I fix some of the lighting. Alright, so in my previous videos, supplies we need today. Pencil, eraser, some sort of, I'm going to use my markers again. If you want, I actually have some, and I've only done one art piece in my entire career, but I have some little jewels and I have some glitter that we're going to possibly use depending on how I take this. So we're just going to get started. I'm going to start off with my basic shapes. The easiest way to start any drawing is to just start with those basic shapes, and we've talked about that. So basic shapes: circle, triangle, square, rectangle, trapezoid. I'll draw a quick little trapezoid. You know, especially for cakes or desserts, that a trapezoid is a shape you might want to have in your knowledge base. But I'm going to do a cupcake, a simple cupcake. So I'm going to start, and again, when I'm drawing, I want to hold my pencil at the end. I want to draw light until I get it right. That's a phrase that I use a lot with my students. So I'm just going to start drawing. And I'm doing the wrapper of my cupcake, drawing very lightly. So I'm watching the live too, so you guys can try to get the best lighting possible. I'm going to close blinds too. Alright, so alright. It's too dark now. My studio has great lighting, but it always changes. So I have my basic part of my bottom of my cupcake, and the top of my cupcake is going to be, you know, a semicircle or a half circle. So I'm just going to very lightly draw that. Now I have the top of my cupcake and the bottom of my cupcake. Base, start, done. Now I can start to add all sorts of details. And, you know, depending on the dessert you're doing, if you're doing a donut, if you're doing a lollipop or a bowl of ice cream, whatever your favorite dessert is, you might have very different shapes. And the very fun part about Wayne Thiebaud's art was his variety of different materials and toppings that he had on his art, on his cakes, on his pies. So he would have, and you can see in some of the pictures I posted, you know, there's a picture of a display case of different sweets, and there's like 10 different kinds of cakes. There's strawberry cakes, there's chocolate cakes, and I talk with my students when I teach. This is actually a lesson I teach with my students we talk about how you know what different desserts look and taste like because of the colors they use or because of the toppings they use. And we'll get to it eventually, but having different toppings and the options for you to really make this your own dessert is really great. So I'm thinking I'm going to do, just because I have a bunch of glitter and jewels and stuff, I think I'm going to do a princess cupcake or something of that sort. So I'm going to start with the bottom part, like the paper wrapper of my cupcake, and I'm going to start to add details to that. So I start my lines at the top and I just start making the lines of my wrapper, and they sort of, not curve, but they sort of are diagonal to give it the shape that the wrapper is around. So you can see how I made those lines. Some of them kind of go towards the middle. And now just a little, not too much detail, but just a little bit more. I'm gonna have my cupcake kind of go over the edge. We all have had those cupcakes that we filled up a little bit too much, and so the cupcake the cake part goes over the top of the wrapper, and I'll erase so you guys can see what I mean. Erase just a little bit. So you can see how I have, just a little bit of the overflow of the cupcake. Now, I'll do a little so I'll ask us for some participation from our lovely viewers. Like, what are some things, and this is a brainstorm for all of you too, but what are some things that go on cupcakes? I'll start off with, a cupcake isn't a cupcake without icing. What are some other things that, you might want to make sure you have in your cupcake, or your dessert, or your bowl of ice cream? What are some things that desserts need to have? Sprinkles. I love desserts too, Mrs. Kasha Davis. That's why I've been eating everything in the house, so this is a perfect lesson to do today. Sprinkles, frosting, and for sprinkles, I'm actually going to use, and I put in the post that if we want to have some crafty supplies, pom-poms, or we can use some cut paper, or anything you have in the house. I wanted to put that option for you, so I might actually use some of my little jewels and some of my glitter as sprinkles, and some filling. Yes, if you're doing a donut, you might have the cream filling of the donut come out, or what else we got? Sprinkles, lots of sprinkles. I love sprinkles. And the biggest debate is, do you call them sprinkles or jimmies? My grandparents used to call them jimmies. So I'm going to just start with frosting. The cool thing about frosting is there's no real wrong way to do it. And the frosting goes on top of the cupcake. So you can see how I went just outside of my actual line that I drew for the cupcake. And edible gems, pie filling, a cherry, yes. So I have my, I just threw a couple of things on there. Maybe it's the frosting, a swirl of frosting, or a cherry, or a birthday candle, or a strawberry, or a blueberry, or a Hershey Kiss, or a little mint, or a piece of hard candy, or a gumdrop. There's lots of different options. So I got my frosting, and then since I'm doing a princess cupcake, I'm gonna put a little crown cake topper. And you can put whatever you want on your cupcake or your dessert. You know, maybe you're doing a Spider-Man cupcake. So maybe you do put some Spider-Man webs on your frosting. Or maybe it's a frozen cupcake. So you put some icicles. I'm really looking forward to, and just like in my other videos, I want to see what you guys created in your own cupcake designs. So, or your own dessert designs, whether it be a donut or a bowl of ice cream or a big cake. I'm doing a cupcake just so you guys can follow along. It's a little bit easier to draw than some of the more complex shapes, but if you want to tackle some of those complex shapes, I put some simple how-to things in that previous post that I was talking about. If you have access to a printer or a second device, I have those on there so that you can...
I'm not sure.
Oh, Alexa's talking to me now. So I'm gonna put a little birthday candle too in the top. And I'm making my candle a little crooked on purpose. I'll have a little flame. And most birthday candles have those spirals. So this is where a lot of times I have students that will come up and say, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. You can always add details. You know, like my birthday candle could have just been a rectangle. But, you know, adding those spirals of the birthday candle and then having a wick with a little flame on it. You know, my crown topper, I'm going to put some jewels. Maybe I'll put a little border. And then I actually, maybe I'll put some sprinkles, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with the sprinkles. I have an idea. Sprinkles can be just little rectangles. Or if you want to put candy on top. Whatever your cupcake. I really want to see all the different confections, and confections is a fancy word for a sweet. So I want to see all the kind of sweets that you guys can come up with and make. So now I'm going to I have a decent start, and I might add some more details, and especially with all my jewels and my glitter and all that good stuff. I'm just going to start doing my outline. And again, if you follow this step pretty well, you'll have less to draw, or less to erase rather. Hopefully you drew light. I draw mine a little darker just so you can see it in the video. But I'm just going to go through and, you know, start to outline all those things that I drew. And again, I really encourage you guys to go look at some of those resources. Wayne Thiebaud is a very fun, interesting artist. He did all sorts of, he was classified as a pop artist. which means that he drew lots of objects from everyday life. So he's most famous for his, baked goods. I'm going to do this just so you guys can see me as I do it. He's most famous for his baked goods, but, he is, one of his famous paintings is a row of gumball machines. He also did a series of, he was fascinated with bright, bold, vivid colors. And he did a whole series of lipsticks because of all the colors of the lipsticks that were out there, and the different shades and colors of lip color. So, and again, the nice thing about the pencil line is I made mine a little sketchy, so I can really decide which line. Maybe I don't go and stick to the line I drew. That's okay, it's just a guide. And hopefully I drew light so that when I get it right, I can just erase it. And erase it easily. And I'll do a couple of my sprinkles. I might not put all of them in. And I'm going to edit some of them out. Which again, that's okay. And the good thing is that I can erase them easily. So if you guys are just joining, we're working on a Wayne Thiebaud cupcake. I'm working on a cupcake, but we're working on, I'm actually going to put a little, like stand or something for this to go on too. We're working on Wayne Thiebaud sweets. In the previous post, there's all sorts of resources, videos, articles, pictures of his artwork, so you can see some of his artwork. Let me know in the comments if that's helpful, or if you want different types of resources. I'd love to know if it's working, if it's not working. I'm doing this and I'm hoping that I have some of my students in here. For those of you that don't know me, Mr. Dorothy, and I am an art teacher at Rochester Prep Elementary School 3. So if any of my students are watching, please, I'm looking at the comments right now, so please, I'll give you a shout out. But I love that other schools, other friends' kids are able to take part in this. Hi, Jack and Lane. Jack and Lane are my friend Drew and Lindsey's kids. Hi, Drew and Lindsey. I'm so, yes, Miss Eamon asks, are any Oswego friends watching? And is the video helpful, or? Someone said that's helpful, so I'm hoping that the video is helpful. But a lot of my fellow teachers are also on here too, so they're looking for their students to be able to watch too. So I'll keep shouting out if I see some of my students or other kids saying hello on here. But now I'm going to start to add my color. I'm going to start with the simplest color that I know, because I don't know where else I'm going to go in terms of color. But I know I want my crown to be yellow. So, and again, I'm going to color in the way that I teach my students, which is I've used the analogy of creating bumpers like we're bowling. So I color along the outside to create a border so that I have and I take my time on this step so that I make sure I stay inside of the lines, because you spent all of this amazing time getting those nice lines and drawing. Hi Giuliani, hi Mackay. Two of my third graders. I love that you're watching. So, and I'll do my bottom part too. Why not? So I'll get my crown set. And since I'm doing a princess cupcake, and again, I really hope that you guys are doing whatever you want for your cupcake. I had my students that I did this with, you know, imagine this is your dream dessert, you know, your favorite dessert. If you had a party, what would you want your cake to look like, or your cupcake, or, you know, you get your favorite donut from the store, what does that look like? So I'm going to start doing my frosting, and I'm choosing colors. Wayne Thiebaud, the artist we're talking about, he used very exaggerated colors, you know. Frostings and stuff might not exactly be this bright and bold, but he liked to exaggerate the colors a little bit just so that you got the vibrance of the frosting. And if you ever get a chance to look at his paintings in person, oh yes, yes, Leanne, you still count as one of my students, even though I think you're 21 now. Oh my God. And Mackay, I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well at home, and I hope you're doing lots of reading and learning still, and I'm glad you're watching this. Tell your friends when you're on the Fortnite, you know, staying up too late probably. I forgot what I was talking about. I got distracted by so many familiar faces or names popping up. So, oh, his, if you ever get a chance to see Wayne Thiebaud's, with any art, it's great to see it in pictures and whatnot. Oh my gosh, you're 22, Leon. Oh, it's great to see paintings, and the joy of the internet is to be able to see art and see artists, but there's nothing that can replace seeing a piece of art in person. And Wayne Thiebaud's paintings, you know, he's obsessed with the texture and the colors. You know, he paints, and his the way he paints frosting, it almost looks like he's just iced the cake, and you know, the texture of the inside of the cake has that grainy kind of cakey looking texture. They're just gorgeous to look at. So I encourage you, once all this craziness happens, get to an art gallery. A lot of galleries and stuff have student discounts, you know, especially on school breaks and things. They have times where kids can go for free or a reduced rate, so I highly encourage that. Now, I think I'm going to do a just normal cake color. and I think I talked about this in my last video too, but for parents that are watching, or kids, if you have markers that are dead, or you think they're dead, don't necessarily throw them away. You can make watercolors out of them. If you put them in some water, like in a little jar, and you dip the markers with the tips of the markers in the bottom of them, the ink will suck out and it will turn whatever material or water you have. Don't fill the jar up too much, because if it's a lot of water and not a lot of color, it'll be diluted. But it's a way for you to make some watercolor. Good, Makai. I'm glad you're reading, and I'm glad you're doing art too. There's some art books out there too, so you can find some art books. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to, and as you're doing this too, if you want to be adding some textures, and again, we talked in past videos about what texture is, you know, how something feels or how something looks like it feels. You know, so Wayne Thiebaud made his, when he added his paint to paint his cakes, he made his frosting, you know, fluffy and swirly. So there's my cake. And this is where I can talk too about, I talk to my students about what, you know, how color is important, especially in a piece like this, you know, like what flavor is my frosting gonna taste like, or, you know, it's a white cake, so it's gonna be what flavor of cake. We did a lot of planning around that when we did our project in school. You know, well, my favorite flavor of cake is chocolate, so, you know, what color are you going to color that cake? I had to close my door to keep my barking dogs. The mailman must be here. And if I was in true Mr. Rogers fashion, I would totally invite the mailman in and have a cup of tea or something. But alright, so I have the top of my cupcake done. I'm going to add some stuff to my candle. And again, if I have littler areas, I encourage you to use a littler marker if you have them. You know, you don't want to, just to make sure we're staying in the lines, because the rules of our coloring, we want to make sure we're staying in the lines, we're coloring in the same direction. I'm going to actually do this too. Closer as we get into some of the finer details. You don't want to have white space, so you want all the paper to be gone in your area. So I'm coloring in with the small side of my marker. And I actually had one parent reach out and say what supplies, you know, if you want specific recommendations about supplies, you know, feel free to message me or comment, and I'll get back to you. But, you know, I want these videos to be accessible and easy depending on what you have. If you have access to Amazon, I can send you Amazon links. But, you know, Crayola, especially for a student grade supply, is wonderful. They have thick markers, thin markers, bright colors, bold, you know, all sorts of options for you. Now I'm going to work on my paper of my cake, my wrapper. So I'm going to do it purple. And I'm going to use a dark purple for the wrapper. And I'm going to do it this way because I'm realizing I'm covering with my gigantic, massive hand. So, again, that's me doing my bumpers, coloring around the outside so that I have my protective border to color the inside. And then now I'll go through and do each individual and I say go in the same direction too so you don't have streaks. Hi Gretchen! So it's weird for me to say Gretchen because Mrs. Breon was my 5th and 6th grade teacher, I think. It was so long ago. But Mrs. Breon is a wonderful teacher. She teaches in Spencerport where I went to school. And a lot of my monsters that I illustrate, I've gifted her some of my images so that she can use creative writing lessons and the kids write stories about the monsters, which is a really cool thing for me to, I have an idea of what my monster is or what they do, but to have the imagination of a student kind of create their own story is a really fun experience for me. So, now I have my bottom of my cupcake down. Now, I'm going to challenge you, if you have a darker color, maybe a darker blue or a darker purple, the cupcake wrapper is kind of ruffled. So I'm going to, in the middle, because the edges are going to be the part that you'll see what this is going to do. So then I can go in and I can take that color, and now it looks like that's the deepest part, so it creates that crinkle of the wrapper. And I'll do a couple of these and then I'll move on to another step and I'll finish them later. Because I like to keep these to the hour so that you kids can make sure you get your other studies done while you're remote learning. And maybe in the comments too, people can let me know where they're watching from or Alright, so I'll leave those. Now, I'm going to start to add some jewels. Because why not? And I actually have some sticky little stars. So I'm going to put some of those on the top of my crown. And this is a chance for you, depending on what you have at home, if you have some of this stuff, add it. If you don't, you can draw it. But I have some of these things from another art project. I did a art piece with a student. There was a show called Shared Spaces, and my student challenged me. She wanted to use glitter and stuff in her art piece. challenged me to use glitter, and I ended up using rhinestones. So I still have a lot of old rhinestones that I still find everywhere. So now I'll show you guys maybe a little bit of glitter, how you can use glitter. Now glitter you can use, I'm going to get a little paintbrush because with glitter it can be really messy. So I'm going to show you how to use some glitter just in, I say just a dot, not a lot. So I'm going to make sure my glue is open first. And I'm just going to do this. So I'm actually going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to paint in some glue. And then, depending on your glitter, make sure it doesn't spill all over the place. Anyways, I'm going to open. There we go. Glitter can be a mess to pick up and take care of, so do always work on a piece of paper underneath it. There we go, you got one. So I used one paintbrush to paint on my glue, and I'm going to use another paintbrush just to dip into the glitter. This helps control, and it makes it so that you're going to have some excess, but when I was making my artwork with this, it keeps a lot. I'm going to dunk both my paintbrushes in the extra water, and I'm going to use a piece of scrap paper, and I'm just going to tilt and dab, and then now I have a glitter sprinkle. So that's a great way for you to, using that paintbrush, it's a great way for you not to just like dump the whole thing of glitter and then have a lot of extra and have that be wasteful. So I'm going to continue. Maybe I'll add some texture to my my cake. And again, texture is how it feels. So I'm just going to add some dots. They're going to give it that look of that baked cake. And these are the little details that, I like to have. We still here? All right. Oh, Makai, don't worry if you don't have glitter. I'm just saying if you have it. Don't worry. Don't worry. And glitter might not work for a superhero or a sports cupcake. This is just my example, if you have, you know, a sports cake and maybe you have a basketball, maybe it has some of this texture for the basketball. Or if you have, you know, a flash cupcake, your cupcake might have yellow and red details. Or so whatever materials you have or colors you have or whatever design your cupcake is going to be, again, does not have to look like mine. I would rather it not. But if you wanted to follow along with me, that's fine too. But I love seeing all of the creativity that kids have, because their minds are amazing things. Now, I'm going to add some more little gems, I think. I put my paintbrush. Now, as I'm doing this too, just so everybody knows, I'm still planning on doing these lives every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, same time, same place. If anything changes, I'll make sure to let everybody know with the post. I do have my teaching job, and we have some duties that we have to make sure we are able to meet, but I have told them that we do these lives, so and they're very happy, and a lot of them probably are watching right now too. So and I see one big thing that I have not done, and it's the, you know, details like the flame of the candle. And I'm going to get some colors for my flame. I want some reds and yellows and oranges, and I'll use the smaller end so I can make sure I stay inside my lines. And for any art piece, a lot of times it's the little details that make it really that much cooler to look at. And for me, I love looking at children's artwork and seeing the details that they come up with and the details they think of. I'm not sure if she is watching, but my niece, she drew a picture of me, and the things that she remembers and the ways that she characterizes me. I wear a bandana a lot in the summer, and so she put me in a bandana. So it's just fun to see the details that things that kids come up with. Last thing I'm going to do is just a little plate, and then we're about maybe as I'm doing this, if there's any questions or you want me to show you how to do something, please feel free to put that in the comments, and then also make sure you post in the comments or send me a message or on Instagram or Facebook. Send me pictures of your artwork. I've been making virtual galleries so that other people can, and I know a lot of people that look forward to seeing, you know, the past week, they look forward to seeing all of the kids' artwork. Brightens their day. I know this really brightens my day. My my weeks. I look forward to seeing and talking to all of you, and so there we go. Oh, good to see you, Nate. Glad the kids liked that. I'm gonna look through the comments quick. See if anybody needs anything. Yeah, so I can do other little details, like I might add some I'm gonna go back and glitter I'm gonna add some details to my crown. So maybe I'll add some shadows on my candle. But I'll finish the blending of this. Just taking you and blending those out so that it looks like those ripple. All those little details, they're going to make you have a more realistic looking, more interesting to look at picture. People will sit and look, wow, look how real that looks. How colorful, the more color you have. So, all right. So I haven't seen any more comments. So I look forward to seeing everybody's final projects in the comments below. Please make sure you post your kids' work, your work, whatever it may be. I'll be creating a post later today to show them off so that everybody can see each other's artwork. Make sure if you want to know when these videos are, I've been posting them on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow my Instagrams at Jason Dorphy, or my classroom page, which I've been posting them all to too as well, which is at Mr. Dorphy's Art Room ES3. At Mr. Dorphy's Art Room ES3. And I've been posting things on there. And make sure you check if you just joined and you want to go to my post prior where I announced the supplies that you need for this lesson if you so choose. There's lots of great videos and articles and other resources that you can use to extend this project out and do what I'm learning about our artist Wayne Thiebaud with his suites. And hope you all enjoyed doing your own suite. I'll be posting this picture along with all of your artwork later today. So be on the lookout for Friday's lesson. I have a couple ideas, but I want to do some more research and think of a fun artist. So like this video, share this video, tag me wherever you are posting it so that I can I'm more intrigued to see where it's going. So thanks all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday and stay safe and love you all. Bye everybody.